what relationship is there between the degree of empty labour that we're seeing and, if you like, the enormous development of management as a science?
I bet none. I bet you can see the management qualification, time, amount, expenditure on management going up, and the actual output is really absolutely the same. I think Roland mentioned the idea of work as a rational, efficient machine. The greatest I prefer to think of work, the idealization of work by management now, as a rational machine for producing efficiency. The product is this thing called efficiency, but nobody knows what it is. Roland, you said that it's a question of time, using time, buying time. But I think it seems to me perhaps the workforce at whatever level believe they are selling their time, but the management at whatever level believe they're buying attention. So they say, we're not paying you to idle. So you say, well, you're paying me for 8 hours a day, and you've got nothing for me to do in it. It's very old. I mean, you think about 14th, 15th century people were saying this about monks. And it wasn't that monks were silly. Monks' monasteries were important. They were sort of powerhouses of prayer for our general good, like the spiritual NHS. And people saying they weren't doing it. They were drinking and ordering things. Little Dorrits, 19th century Dickens, very hot on officials who know nothing and do nothing.
Well, what about this about management? That management, I think Jane is still here, is giving me the eye about some of that. I think we're nodding really about this. But what about management? The idea that really that management is, that much of management could be described as empty labour, insofar as it is about motivating employees, and from what we've heard from you, they are singularly failing to do that.
I think it's actually about the whole concept of work, which is becoming increasingly meaningless. I'd say, once in Plato and Aristotle, work was the strenuous reproductive activity that we did in order to survive, whereas philosophy was the antithesis. Today, even philosophy can do work, or worse still, wage labor, say if you're a professor. So there's a great confusion concerning the actual concept of work. And what I want to do here is actually to just add to that confusion. Is it reasonable to call it work if you're just sitting there reading your Facebook, or if you're just selling your personality in emotional labor? If your work is meaningless or destructive, say if you're in the arms industry.
I mean, if you listen to politicians now, though, I mean, in this country, no doubt in yours as well, I mean, work seems to be becoming more honourable by the day, doesn't it? We're now talking about striving, we mustn't be slacking at all.
It's dreadful. And then the term we use when we've got to get rid of somebody, you're redundant, a terrible thing to say to somebody. But I think there's a lot of it is about pretense, and there was all this coming out of empty labour. There was the idea that work is what you pretend to do, but there's also, in order to do that, there's the emotional labour of pretending you love it. Passionate about food? No, we're selling sandwiches. We're loving it. We're not. We're on the minimum wage. And you cite the woman who came into a meeting and said, I only come here to put food on the table. Immediately ostracised. She wasn't keeping up the lie.
That's it. There we must end. Michael Brewwater and Roland Paulson, thank you both very much. A final reminder of workers who never had the slightest opportunity to engage in empty labour. It's a reminder which also nicely fits a memory from listener Dave Williams, who writes, I used to spend many evenings in the Temple in Liverpool. I was there when Big Bill Brunsey guested. The jazzmen were prodigious drinkers, but at the interval, Pete Daniels, the trumpet player, placed a bottle of whiskey in a pint glass in front of Bill, who demolished it in half an hour, and then went on to do a brilliant blues set in the second half. Happy days. Don't try that at home, will you?
I was born one morning, the sun didn't shine. Picked up my shovel and I went to the mine. I loaded 16 ton, number 9 told. The strong boy said that I'm so lovesick.
Thinking Aloud is presented by Laurie Taylor and made in association with the Open University. It was produced by Jane Edgerton. You can download the programme via the Radio 4 website. We find out why Doctor Who thrives on speculation in just a moment. The media show is next. Questions of democracy, defence and duty feature in a darkly comic BBC Radio 4 drama in which a newly appointed Prime Minister has to write a letter of last resort. The letter, addressed to the attention of Trident's commanding officers, carries instructions on what to do in the event of Britain being obliterated in a nuclear attack. On her first day in office, the Prime Minister grapples with the difficult and somewhat surreal task before her.
How does the captain know that there's nobody left?
No signal traffic on UK defence frequencies,
The absence of Radio 4, really?
amongst other things.
Because without the archers, there'd be no civilization.
If the BBC were in any way able to broadcast, someone would be doing so. So the implication of its absence is relatively severe.
Sorry.
You can hear the drama via the Radio 4 website. Once there, you can also listen to a lively discussion with Paddy O'Connell. Now on BBC Radio 4, here's Steve Hewlett with The Media Show.
Hello. For the first time on British television, live in front of a representative studio audience, we'll be hearing from three men, each hoping to be the leader of the next UK government.
They were Britain's first televised leaders' election debates ever. But might they be the last? The next general election is not due until 2015, but already the political and media jiggery-pokery has begun. And you'll hear about it all here first. Netflix, the film and TV internet download service, claims it will revolutionise our TV viewing habits. But 1 year on from its UK launch, and after splashing out $100 million on its own remake of TV classic House of Cards, remember, you might think that I couldn't possibly comment. How is Netflix doing? And The Doctor... Yes, that one, otherwise currently known as actor Matt Smith, is about to regenerate again, just in time for the show's 50th anniversary. So what explains the programme's longevity? And might he even become a she? And if you've thoughts about anything you hear this next half hour, by all means email us via the Radio 4 website. And if you use Twitter, it's hashtag R4MediaShow. Britain's first ever TV election leaders' debates were a huge success. At least they were with viewers, peaking at well over 9 million, vastly higher than audiences to other political programmes, and proving especially popular amongst hard-to-reach audiences for politics, especially the young. But for some of the politicians involved, the reckoning is almost certainly more mixed. Did David Cameron fail to win an outright Conservative majority because of the profile and status, according to Nick Clegg, as a result of his inclusion in the mix? And did it do Gordon Brown more harm than good? Of course, having done it once, getting out of it next time might prove tricky. But with UKIP polling significantly higher than the Lib Dems, it's hard to see how Nigel Farage could fairly be excluded. And what might that mean for the two main parties? The whole Nick Clegg thing all over again, but potentially much, much worse. Oh dear. So where are the parties and the broadcasters, and what is really going on behind the scenes? I'm joined by the Sunday Times political editor Isabel Oakeshott and one-time ITN editor-in-chief, Ofcom partner and now Professor of Journalism at City University, Stuart Purvis. Stuart, many thanks indeed for coming. Just to get us started here, it took decades and decades and decades for these debates to happen at all. Just to fill us in, how did it come about in the first place?
Well, for the previous decades on decades, essentially the incumbents thought it wasn't worth the risk. In other words, they thought, why should I give profile to my opponents when it's not necessarily going to benefit me? Gordon Brown was behind in the polls and obviously made the judgment that it was worth the risk, and we'll never know whether he was better or worse off for taking that risk, but certainly that I think was a breakthrough moment. But I have never assumed that it would necessarily happen again just because it happened in those particular circumstances.
I mean, it was a very complex negotiation, I think, with the 76 rules of engagement.
Yes, and I think the broadcasters handled it really well, probably better than when I was involved. And they actually got together. There was kind of clarity about what they were trying to achieve. It was all done in a very professional way. Even if there were lots of rules, I think most people thought the outcome was rather good.
And do we know what was David Cameron's calculation about the inclusion of Nick Clegg at the time? Do we know?
I suspect that he underestimated Nick Clegg as a performer, and I think probably most of us did actually. And of course, in hindsight, maybe the Nick Clegg bubble burst just at the end of the third debate, but that's not how it appeared at the first and second debate. The other thing was, if you're a new Tory leader, if you're trying to send a new message, one of the ways you do that is to say, I am more open, I am more accountable, I will go into a debate. So it kind of fitted the overall Cameron message, I think.
Okay. In terms of where we are now, we'll talk to Isabel in a second about where the parties think they are and what their calculations are. But in terms of how one might begin to orchestrate a debate this time, with UKIP polling, last I saw, was 16%, and Lib Dems around 10 or thereabouts. Is it possible that this could be done without UKIP? And if it had to include UKIP, would the other parties go on?
Well, I think from the broadcaster's point of view, there is nothing to be gained for starting this process too early. I suspect that with European and local elections next spring, with the Scottish referendum next autumn, you won't see much actually happening until next autumn at the earliest. So they're going to play this long. And one of the reasons to play it long is actually, in fairness to the parties, you need to make some judgments about that time, about their position in what Ofcom calls the electoral landscape or the political landscape. So if you made a decision today, who knows, it might change by then. So expect the broadcasters to play this long.
In the event, though, that UKIP were still a significant force with a claim, I mean, first of all, Nigel Farage has said that he would go to court to ensure he was there. Would he have a case?
Well, it's a rather complicated process. It's different between the BBC and between the commercial companies. But if you take, for instance, Ofcom defines major parties in Great Britain. So as of today, UKIP is not defined as a major party in Great Britain. If UKIP were, for instance, to even win the European elections or come second, which is quite feasible, would, say, Ofcom have to review that position? Or would they say, actually, for all their success in European elections, UKIP has not got a single seat in the UK Parliament, how can we call them a major party?
So their share of the polls, I mean, as it were, opinion polls, is not the decisive
It's not. It's a much more general judgment about their performance across a range of elections and other measures.
Okay, Isabel O'Shaw, again, many thanks for joining us. Where are the parties on this now?
Well, the official line from the Conservatives is that David Cameron supports it in principle, but that is very different to the mood music, which is that they're really not very keen at all, and my strong sense is that they are hoping to find a way of wriggling out of doing it again. In terms of where Labour are, they are very much up and running on this already. I understand that they are already talking to people from the Obama team in terms of getting advice on preparation, so they very much assume that this is going to happen. And in terms of where the Liberal Democrats are, well, I think that there's a calculation there that Nick Clegg really doesn't have anything to lose, and my understanding is that they not only support it in principle, but their heart is in it.
And UKIP, we think, will be very keen.
Well, UKIP will be very keen, but I'm not sure that I agree that they have such a strong case to be on there. I mean, in the end, these are leaders' debates. The clue's in the name. These are debates for people who are pitching to become Prime Minister, and Nigel Farage, for all his merits, isn't even an MP.
As it stands, of course, that's true. I imagine it would also be difficult. Would it be difficult to exclude the SNP if one were to move to include UKIP?
Well, I believe that we had that argument last time round, didn't we? And I think, you may be able to correct me on this, but I think that there was some kind of resolution in the end, and there were separate Scottish debates, as far as I recall. Now, of course, by the time this all happens, we will have had the referendum on Scottish independence, and Alex Salmond may not be quite such the totemic figure that he is at the moment.
Okay, let's just deal with David Cameron and the Conservatives. As we heard Stuart say earlier, Cameron's calculation last time was that he'd always been in favour and it was a proper share of openness and so on. My understanding is, but you correct me if I'm wrong, there's been a certain sort of backwash in the Conservative Party about whether it's a good thing to do or not.
Sure, and I think one thing that I have heard is that Andy Coulson, who was then his key communications person and was one of the two people that the Tories delegated to go into the long drawn-out negotiations ahead of the shows being agreed, subsequently has privately admitted that he felt that it was a big mistake to go for such long debates. I think they were an hour and a quarter, something like that. And I think he felt that it was a mistake to sign them up to something quite so drawn out that Cameron actually doesn't perform well over quite such a long period of time.
So are they now actively considering, do you know, how they might avoid the embarrassment in the event that, well, either of having to face Nick Clegg again with the risk that presumably they inflate his position again, undermining their own, or that UKIP or someone else were involved as well?
I mean, I don't think that Nick Nick Clegg is such a fear this time. I mean, actually, in the end, anyway, for all the great sort of surge he had in the polls around the time, he didn't actually win any extra seats. So that bubble burst well before polling day. And of course, he's in a much different position now as Deputy Prime Minister and someone who's been in government. And I think that we're hearing from them is that they might be up for some kind of debate that was 6 months ahead of the election, or it sounds like they're trying to get some kind of fudge, and I just don't think that will wash. And I think that we will see Labour beginning to run stories about being to push out the line about Cameron running scared. And Number 10 has to ask itself, the Tory leadership has to ask itself, do they really want 2 years of David Cameron's running scared stories? I think it's probably inevitable that there will be debates in the end, so David Cameron might as well pretend he's looking forward to it.
Stuart, do you think inevitably debates, do you think? Or is there any way out of it?
Broadcaster's strongest card is to say what's on the table today is exactly what was on the table last time. If you don't want to turn up, it tells us that you don't really want to do it. However, if there are any changes to the rules or any changes to the lineup, that gives somebody who doesn't really want to do it the chance to pull out.
But does it really? If the lineup, I say, let's suppose the rules stay the same, but the lineup were to hypothetically to include you. I take your point about, and Isabel's point about whether or not they would have a claim, but let's just, for argument's sake, let's assume they did. That would be a change to the lineup, but not one that Cameron could safely run away from, surely.
Well, I don't know. If he could recite the same arguments we've been talking about. The man hasn't got a single seat in the UK Parliament. Remembering, I think, crucial to remember, the way the BBC defined the debate was they didn't talk about leadership, they talked about the prime ministerial debate. And they actually said that only 3 people, and that was, Labour, Lib Dems and Tories, could go on to become the Prime Minister. Now, clearly they would argue that Farage doesn't meet that. I think some people will argue that actually Nick Clegg didn't meet that last time round. But that
Which is the problem.
Which is the problem. But that'll be the criteria they fight on. And to claim that a party can go from no seats to becoming the Prime Minister, that's a pretty long story.
Okay, Isabel said that she thought that the debates are more or less an inevitability. In a word, what's your guess?
My guess is that the broadcasters will stick to where it is if necessary, and that anyone who walks away will look bad.
Okay, well, we'll stick with this one. Stuart Purvis, Isabel Oakeshott, many thanks indeed. And if you've thoughts about any of that, Doctor Who up next, or Netflix and TV viewing after that, it's hashtag R4Media Show on Twitter, and do email us, of course, via the website. Now, the key to the Doctor Who story is regeneration. The Doctor's done it 10 times, and is shortly to do it again, now that Matt Smith has announced his intention to move on. But the whole